Good evening, Mr. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are now at the 36th reading, and we are in chapter 6. Only one more chapter to go after this, chapter 7. Very short. And it's been an honor reading with you and studying with you and being a scholar, letting this be a scholarly worship, not just a learning, but a scholarly undertaking for us, because we're not just learning, we are actually doing and experiencing our Bitachon, our trust. And it's very important that we remember trust is key. And in everything that we do, it must be trust, not in each other, but in HaShem. No matter how it looks, no matter how it feels, no matter what comes from your mouth, teshuvah and trust. So I want to make sure that that is a given with us. Jews cannot have a relationship without the creator of the universe. It's like we cannot have a relationship with the creator of the universe without Bitachon, without trust. And I pray with all of my heart that all of us, as we have read through this book and completing this book, as we have read through Zagan's book that Zagan did with teshuvah, the levels of teshuvah, that we understand the true definition of trust. We actually have a definition that we can actually use and see things come to pass in our life for the good. So again, good evening. Toda Rabah for being with us this evening. We've just gone through Shavuot. It was beautiful, especially the all-night Torah study. It was excellent. Please go and avail yourselves of that. Please make sure that you, as you're watching the video, tag it, share it with your friends, share it with others, and make sure you subscribe to a Lapid channel. There's an excellent wealth of intel on here for you, for all of us, because we're all still in a scholar stage, in a learning stage. So let's go on and let's go ahead and greet everyone. Good evening, Sergio. Good evening, Chris and Crystal. Hepzibah, good evening. Donna Jones, good evening. Katura, Toda for being there for me. Good evening. And let's see here. Ahava, good evening. And let's see. Hepzibah, yes. And Micaiah, good evening. And also good evening to David. And let's see. Lantern Signals, good evening. And Beverly, good evening. Good evening. And let's see who else is here. I'll have and Peaches, formerly of Georgia. And let's see. So as others come on, please greet them. Remember also that this is coming up to the very last of our book. I want to make sure that all of you have the book that Zagan did, SHAAR, Teshuvah, which is gates, plural, of Teshuvah. And the book that we will be coming up next, when its proper time comes, will be Mesalas Yesharim. Excellent, excellent book. Please have this book in your library. Please utilize these books. And of course, the book that we are currently in, wrong side, okay, SHAAR, HABITACHON. And of course, it is a millennial work, 1,000 years. And can you imagine 1,000 years ago studying Musar? Mishpakat is so important that we study Musar. Torah without Musar is a total lack, because we can't do Torah without Musar. It is the whole importance of the Torah. The Torah was given to us, but to share it, there must be Musar. The ability to be able to to forgive, the ability to be able to do complete shuva, bal shuva, is indicative to Musar. So this is why we are studying these books. Many other Jews, thousands and thousands of other Jews, are doing this exact same study, reading this exact same book. Other Jewish websites have this book as part of a class that you're able to take during it. Do not let this book, do not let any of these books draw dust, because they need to be used daily. Musar is a daily trait. It is character trait. It is why we counted the Omer. We counted the Omer so that we could deal with traits that were in us that are not of HaShem, so that they could not be trained, but replaced. We never want to train a bad Middot or a bad character trait. There is no training it. It must be replaced. Okay, it must be taken into subjection. It must be dealt with. And until you deal with it, putting it back and training it and saying nice bad character trait don't come up. Okay, it will come up again and again and again. So please do not fool ourselves. When there are character traits that need to be dealt with, deal with them. I'm doing this even as we speak. Please deal with them, because the sooner we deal with an uncooperating Middot or an uncooperating character trait, it will consume you. So we were beginning on page 257. We're talking about individuals who have it in their minds that in order to serve HaShem, Avodah HaShem, that HaShem gives them something first. How vain, how entitled this is. And yet we live in this type of society. HaShem owes us nothing. If nothing else, once we get that concern in place and understood, you will know that entitlement is under control in your life. Again, it is very important that we do an accounting of ourselves daily. When you're in what seems like impossible situations, you need to get off by yourself and deal with those situations so that they don't become a hindrance to our ness or our miracle that HaShem has for us, or the time that we are going to be meeting someone. Divine appointments, they are available to us at all times, simply because we don't make those appointments. HaShem does. And this is why we need to hold an accounting of ourselves before HaShem, before the Torah. So this is why it is not up to us. It is not up to HaShem to court us. Contrary to some people's popular belief that HaShem needs to court us to get no. As a Jew, we study as Jews. We worship as Jews. We know that at Sinai, the Torah and both the oral and written Torah were given there. That's not up for debate. You want to debate it? Go someplace else. This class is for individuals who want to get it right the first time. No arguments, just fact, directly from vetted Jewish sources. And this is where we are. So on page 257 at the bottom, the fifth refutation, the fifth response to one who solicits a security from HaShem is that when one takes a security from his fellow, he has peace of mind on account of possessing the security. The peace of mind coming from what he has received from a human, from his fellow. So on to page 258, because if the friend does not pay, he hopes to collect from it and benefit from it, or to sell it and use the money he receives in exchange for it. However, someone who thinks that when the Creator gives him ample funds in advance, he will have the peace of mind with regard to his worldly needs, has a false, unrealistic claim, because he cannot be certain that the money will remain with him. It is possible that some mishap will occur that will separate him from his money. We are looking at dealing with, I'm not going to do a mitzvah because I have to do this, or I don't have a surety that the mitzvah is going to work, or that I'm actually doing the right mitzvah at the right time. All of these things are waiting on a surety from HaShem before we do something, which is unacceptable. Okay. However, someone who thinks that when the Creator gives him ample funds in advance, he will have peace of mind with regard to his worldly needs, and of course has a false realistic realm, because he cannot be certain that the money will remain with him. It is possible that some mishap will occur that will separate him from his money, in line with what the verse states in Jeremiah 17:11 about the wealth of one who fails to rely on HaShem. In the middle of his days, it will leave him. Note number 29. The verse speaks about someone who, instead of relying on HaShem, makes money through unjust ways. And it gives the reference there. The essential point, though, is that one is not assured that his wealth will remain in his possession. Moreover, amassing savings for the sake of having a security deposit from HaShem is inherently unjust, so that itself may be a cause for the money to be lost. Mishpachah, I'm saying from experience, don't fall here. It is not saying don't have a savings account, or don't have backup plans, or don't invest. That's not what it's saying here. It's saying when we do these things, make sure we know for sure that we are trusting in Hashem's righteousness with us and not our own prowess. You know, there's such a thing as hoarding. You can hoard money. Hoarding will put your money in position to be taken. Hoarding is removing one's bitachon, or one's trust in HaShem. Again, it does not mean that we don't have savings. It does not mean that we don't have financial planning. It does not mean these things. It means that as we do these things, it's like taking a medicine that we're told to take. Before you take that medicine, Hashem Todah Rabbah, that this medicine is doing what you're allowing it to do in my body. Just as I go through this financial planning, Father, you are helping me plan my life. I am going through and doing this as you have set forth in your plan as I do the financial planning, even as you're showing me the right person to trust. So you see, the whole emphasis on what we do is all about the intention, the Kavanaugh, the holy intent of how we trust God, or why, or that we are trusting God in doing what we're doing. Okay. Moreover, amassing savings for the sake of having a security deposit from Hashem is inherently unjust, so that it itself may be a cause for the money to be lost. Be very, very cognizant of this. Okay, let's go back to let's see. Yeah, here we are. Okay, and we're on page 258, middle of the page. And even as summing, even even assuming that these people do retain access to their funds, their claim that they will have peace of mind once they attain their goal of worldly wealth is unfounded, and their pursuit of tranquility in this way is foolish, because it is quite possible that this very wealth will be a strong cause of mental agitation and emotional pain to them. Trying to understand how I can keep my money safe. How can I gain more? How can I leave more to my children, to my family? How can I pass on? How can I? And the how can I's take the place of shalom. Everything must be done in order and shalom. This is Bitachon. This is Musar. This is the whole purpose of studying the Torah in Musar. Studying the Torah without Musar is studying to take Torah and use it to attack someone else. That is not the way to study Torah. Okay. As our sages of blessed memory said in Avos 2:7, one who increases his possessions increases his worry. Note 30. As Havos Alevavos explains in the Pesach and at note 72, one who has many assets and investments is constantly preoccupied with strategies to protect those assets and with concerns about their welfare. He describes this condition as scattering of the soul. Remember that, scattering of the soul. And in that context, cites the words of Shlomo HaMelech in Koheles 5:11. The rich man's sati does not let him sleep. Please remember that. The rich man's sati are being satisfied in that he's got surety because his money is in the bank, and relying on the fact that his money is in the bank does not let him sleep. One other thing I want to add to this too, a way that many individuals have been getting around this is they pay someone else to worry. That's an interesting concept. Paying someone else to worry about your money, which means pay someone else to actually look after and make sure that it doesn't mean that we don't have counselors, because we ask daily that HaShem place us in front of wise counsel, his wise counsel through individuals here. So please be cognizant of what we're doing there in those situations. Okay. Now, there's on page, let's go to page 259 and continue on here. Let's see, back on 258, when the money, and on to 259, when the money one amasses for this purpose will actually not make him secure. It will not make him secure. Now, I'm going to go on and let me read this on page 259. Financial security versus fiscal, that's FISCAL, not physical, but fiscal responsibility. While Havos HaLevavos denounces those who expect HaShem to supply them with a security deposit before applying themselves to his service, he emphasizes here that even having such a deposit would not provide genuine security. He does not preclude putting money away for future needs that are anticipated. As explained earlier in this work, fiscal, Fiscal, okay, responsibility goes hand in hand with Bitachon, okay? The issue in this chapter is how to approach the seeming conflict between the two objectives. On one hand, a person is obligated to serve HaShem with all his abilities. And on the other hand, a human being has an innate craving for a sense of security. Does a person focus on Hashem's service and find security in his Bitachon, knowing that Hashem will always provide as he has promised? Or does one focus on building a nest egg in order to achieve his longed for tranquility through tangible resources and place Hashem's service on the back burner? Havos Alevavos frames the latter approach as a brazen solicitation of a deposit from Hashem, and does hear that it is also foolish, because this is actually the wrong way to go about achieving tranquility. Achieving tranquility, okay? Rather, as he explained that in Persica, in this note, one attains tranquility through Bitachon, not through amassing a fortune. And it goes on and says, see the insight in True Wealth on page 32. And you'll notice that, again, I can't reemphasize this enough. The whole purpose of Havos Alevavos in this gate, SHAAR HABITACHON, trust, is because this is another facet, another aspect of trust. And he's always pointing us back to things that we've already read 30 weeks ago, the first time we met. It's always going back so that you can look at a different facet of this gem of Bitachon with the reality, a current reality compared to a previous reality. So this is why always take, when he says go back to this note, go back to that note, because he's wanting us to see something in relationship to what we've just read compared to how we read it in a different environment in the past. One must therefore place Hashem's service at the forefront of his goals and engage in reasonable histadlus, relying on Hashem to provide one's current and future needs. Now remember the word histadlus. Very important to remember the word histadlus. This is a new word that we learned as reading this book. It's what we do and knowing when to stop and to allow Hashem to do what he does, to rely on Hashem through trust so that Hashem will continue to do. And the reference that I gave and that I pray that you always remember is Yosef in prison. Yosef was in prison for 10 years. He was about to get out. He opens his mouth and says to the cupbearer, please remember me to Pharaoh. And because he stopped trusting, not necessarily stopped trusting in Hashem, but wholly trusting, which he had been doing for 10 years, he opens his mouth, says that, and he does it twice. So 2 more years are added to him. What he was doing the first 10 years was histadlus, trusting. Histadlus, your histadlus, our histadlus should always be going down, always be going down. And our Bitachon should always be rising. Because as the more we trust, the less we have to do to get things done. Okay, it doesn't mean we stop doing. It just means that more reliance is on Hashem. Okay. One must therefore place Hashem's service at the forefront of the goals and engage in reasonable histadlus, relying on Hashem to provide one's current and future needs. But if a person does does serve HaShem properly, and HaShem sends him more money than he currently requires, it is prudent to save a portion of the surplus for genuinely anticipated needs, since this may be HaShem's way of providing for those expenses. Okay, and then it sends us back to page 150 so that we can go back and see another facet of this. A common question in this vein is whether buying an insurance policy conflicts with Bitachon. Is a believing person justified in insuring his own future or that of his survivors? And Rav Moshe Feinstein states in this section, in this reference, states that this is simply a form of histadlus. Okay, since one is required to make some effort to earn a living, and buying life insurance is a relatively easy form of histadlus for one's future needs or those of one's dependents, there is nothing wrong with purchasing such a policy. Okay. Again, this is another reason why I'm recommending, and we also recommend these books, vetted books, because it gives us practical application. This was written 1,000 years ago, and yet and these writings here, these insights are based on what was said 1,000 years ago. Okay. So let's see. Continuing on with this, such a policy, in some cases, this is advisable. Say, Slika, let me go on. Let me go back to here. Since one is required to make some effort to earn a living, and buying life insurance, buying life assurance is a relatively easy form of histadlus for one's future needs and those of his dependents. There is nothing wrong with purchasing such a policy. And then see this and this and this in this cases. Okay. Now, similarly, said that buying a life insurance policy is a means of histadlus and is no different than setting aside money to marry off children or to live from in one's old age. Make the very same point and adds insight to this based on Sefer HaMilkan and Kedushin 81a. Okay, one should have absolute Bitachon in HaShem, may cast his burden upon HaShem. And this is Tehillim 55:23, and rely on him to provide for his old age, and HaShem will surely do so. But since most people do not sincerely have the degree of Bitachon, or that degree of Bitachon, the correct approach for them is to prepare for anticipated future needs by setting aside savings or purchasing insurance. All this is consistent with the words of Havos Alevavos in this chapter. What Havos Alevavos brings out is that one should not allow his concern for the future to interfere with his service of HaShem and postpone or diminish that service in his quest for financial security. Now, let's go on to, at the top of page 259, the sixth response, or the sixth refutation, okay, to such a person is that when one takes a security from his fellow to whom he extends credit, he does so only because he considers the debtor to be an ordinary person. But if the debtor were an extraordinary person, individual, such that the creditor was certain that he would pay him before the due date, and that in appreciation for his waiting to receive payment without asking for a security, the debtor would, out of a desire to reciprocate with kindness, pay double the amount he owes. And let's go back to note 31 on this. Okay, basically it's just giving a reference there. Note 32, in a way that does not violate the prohibition of paying interest on the amount owed. Okay, because their usury is one thing, interest is another. So please be cognizant. Usury, we do not do usury. Okay. The creditor would not take a security from him under any circumstances. And what does note 33 say? Okay, note 33, the debtor who plans to pay back extra even before the money is due is obviously a friend who views this transaction as a friendly favor instead of a standard debt. It would be disgraceful for the creditor to ignore his friend's approach and treat him like a stranger by requiring a surety. Now, with respect to the Creator, Baruch Shemo, or blessed be He, we know how kindly He treats us, providing for all our needs, and how lavishly He bestows His goodness upon us by granting us even more than we need. And 34 is saying to Pat Lesakim, or that reference there. And by consistently bestowing us new gifts in additional to the earlier ones. And note 35 on that. The earlier gifts given before we were capable of serving HaShem demonstrate his willingness to pay in advance, corresponding to the debtors paying before the due date. And furthermore, we know that he rewards us for charitable deeds and mitzvot performed in his service. Remember, all mitzvah, every mitzvah should be tzedakah, mitzvah should be performed in his service, not for our benefit, but in his service. Performing it in his service makes serving HaShem in the right light, doing it properly. And it's also a method of showing anything that's indecent and out of order in our own lives, and that will come to the surface that we may deal with it, so that we may always do what we do for others in the right light, or in the right Kavanaugh, or in the right, or in the correct holy intent Kavanaugh. With compensation that cannot even be imagined and surely cannot be described in words, as it is written in Yeshua 64:3, no eye except yours. HaShem has seen what he will do for one who awaits him. And note 36. Since we wait patiently for our reward in the new world, or in the Olam Haba, HaShem rewards us there with much more than we deserve. And let's see. This corresponds to the debtors paying extra in appreciation for the creditor's patience. Therefore, it would be an even greater disgrace to request a surety from him than it would be to request it from a benevolent human being. HaShem is much more gracious than the debtor who pays early and pays extra. So if it is improper to demand a security from such a debtor, it is certainly foolish and imprudent to demand a security from HaShem before serving him. The seventh and final refutation. The seventh response to a person who solicits a security from HaShem is that one who takes a security from his fellow will not take it unless he is able to deliver the merchandise for which he is taking the surety. A seller will not ask for a security if he does not have the requested item in stock and is not assured of its availability. So this goes both ways, okay? And however, someone who requests a security from the Creator, Baruch Shemo, blessed be He, by asking HaShem to give him the benefits of a secure income for life in advance for serving him, does not have the ability on his own to repay these benefits through his service. And I think before we even read 37, we understand what 37 is going to be. Okay. This is a different point than the one mentioned in the third refutation. There, Havos HaLevavos noted that one is so heavily indebted to HaShem for his past kindness, which he can never repay, no matter how long he lives and performs mitzvah. That it is brazen to ask him to provide additional security for the future. Here, he is saying that a human being lacks the ability to do even a single mitzvah without Hashem's help. One who asks for security from Hashem before serving him is thus requesting advance payment for something that is not in his power to deliver at all. He simply does not have the goods that he is promising. So when we're dealing with surety, security, and we are providing it, and yet we don't have what the individual that we're providing it for is requesting in stock, which is the scenario that was mentioned earlier, that is where we are as humans. Only Hashem has anything and everything in stock, if you will, for us. 7 days a week, 24/7, 365 days, all the way from the moment we came into the Olam Hazeh, and the moment we leave it for the Olam Haba. Only He has that. And let's see. He is not assured of being able to do mitzvah that might repay his previous debts to Hashem for the past benefits that he received. And certainly, cannot be confident of doing even more mitzvah so as to repay him for new debts that he will incur on account of the additional benefits he is soliciting. This is because even a righteous person cannot do mitzvot and thus attempt to repay the debt he has for the goodness that Hashem has bestowed upon him, unless Hashem helps him to do them. So performing mitzvah on our own without asking Hashem to help us do the mitzvah, and not just plan the mitzvah, not just begin the mitzvah, but to complete the mitzvah and follow through on that mitzvah. Okay. Note 38. As Havos HaLevavos explained in chapter 4 at notes 144 through 148. Remember, go back and read those notes compared to what is being said now. Hashem gave man the free will to choose to do good, but not the ability to carry out his choice. For that, one must pray for Hashem's assistance and have Bitachon that he will, in fact, help one fulfill the mitzvah properly. And see these notes. Man thus lacks the ability on his own to even begin to repay Hashem for any security he might request of him. It is ludicrous to ask for security that one will be able to repay only with the help of one's giving, of the one giving the security. So asking for something that is not in our power to do. Hashem gives us the power to want. We need, as it says here, we need his assistance to complete the mitzvah. So doing a mitzvah without asking Hashem's assistance to complete it, that's on us. And this is where we do an accounting and say, okay, there's a mitzvah to be done. So the next thing out of my mouth is, Hashem, assist me in performing this mitzvah through its fruition to get it done. Okay. And let's see here. This is because even a righteous man, yeah. Okay. So let's go on to page 262. An earlier sage made this point. As a certain pious individual said in one of his praises that he composed to Hashem, note 39, the pious individual was Rav Sadia Gaon. Okay, this praise is found in the Siddur he compiled in the first of the two prayers that he composed in Siddur, Rav Siddur. Let's see, say it all. Okay, so look at that reference and see what those prayers are. Okay, but basically, as a certain pious individual said in one of his praises that he composed to Hashem. Okay, even an intelligent person who recognizes you and serves you cannot take pride in his deeds. He can take pride only in being associated with your name and your mercy, through which you have enabled his heart to recognize you. Wow, that is beautiful. Please take this into consideration, Mr. God. This again is so important. Even an intelligent person who recognizes you and serves you cannot take pride in his deeds. He can take pride only in being associated with your name and your mercy, through which you have enabled his heart to recognize you. That is not only Bitachon, but that is whatever we do, doing it in the right kavanah, holy intent, not to get anything, but holy intent. Doing this for the sake of heaven, not doing this for the sake of reward. Okay? For only through you do all the seed of Israel attain righteousness and glory. Note 40. This phrase is adapted from Yeshua 45:25. As they say in Tehillim 44:9, we glory in Hashem all day, and we thank your name forever. Selah. A righteous person knows that whatever he achieves is not a credit to him, but to Hashem. Get this permeated in us forever. This one statement. A righteous person knows that whatever he achieves is not a credit to himself, but to Hashem. who enabled him to achieve it. This is an entitlement killer. If any one of us has an indigenous problem with entitlement, remembering this, reading this, and getting this and letting this become part of us is an antidote to this, to entitlement. Since one has the ability to fulfill mitzvah, since no one has the ability to fulfill mitzvah unless HaShem helps him, one who asks HaShem for a security in advance is acting like a merchant who takes security from a buyer for merchandise that he does not have, and that only the buyer can help him procure. Okay. Now, I'm not going to read this, but I want you to go ahead and read down at the bottom. It says, "We thank your name forever." Well, let me read part of it. While the praise that Havos Halevavos quotes from Rab Sada Gaon has not become part of the regular liturgy, our prayers begin and end with the same theme as the praise in the Matovu passage at the very beginning of the Shacharit, which we do every Shavuot. Okay, and then of course dealing with Tehillim or Psalm chapter 5 verse 8 in that pasuk. As for me, through your abundant kindness, I will enter your house. I will prostrate myself toward your holy sanctuary in awe of you. I'm coming here in awe of you, not in what I can get in surety to allow me to do so that I can serve you. Okay, how asinine in that thought. We enter Hashem's house to pray with the attitude that this is a privilege we have been granted in his abundant kindness, not as a benevolent gesture on our part. Similarly, we end our prayers with the Aleinu, yes we do, in which we praise Hashem for the fact that we, unlike the nations of the lands who fail to recognize him, bend our knees, bow, and acknowledge our thanks before him. That is, we thank him for having been granted the insight to thank him. This is also the central point of the Modim de Ramban's passage, in which we say, we thank you for being able to thank you. Mishpachah, this is so important, so very important. This is another reason why when we're in the liturgy of a Shacharit or in our davening time, do not take our prayers rotely. Please don't. Listen to what we're davening. Listen to what we're praying, so that as we are praying, our Middot, our character traits, are being conformed to his will, to his character. This is how we keep the Yatzah Tov in a heavier state than the Yatzah Hara. So as we are doing this, Torah study is more fascinating. Torah study is more abundant. Torah study is more availed to make huge changes in our lives, that when the Yatzah Hara comes to take away something, the Yatzah Tov is well able to handle that and keep us in a position of not feeling that we are entitled to anything from Hashem. So let me go ahead and just finish reading this, and let's go ahead and summarize the chapter 6. Look at that. We are on page 263, the summary of chapter 6. Avos Halavavos offers 7 arguments against people, and remember, against people who, before dedicating themselves to Hashem's service, want Hashem to provide a security deposit in the form of assets they and their families can live off of the rest of their lives. The 7 arguments are as follows. 1, even a servant who demands a security for sustenance from his master is being disrespectful. One who makes such a demand from the Creator is even more disgraceful or disrespectful. Actually, both. Okay. 2, it is unreasonable to feel entitled to an unknown amount of security before beginning to serve Hashem. And with this approach, one will forever wait to serve him. So, enough. Don't let the Yatzahara lie to us that, hey, if we just get this amount, I'll serve him. Wrong, because once you reach that amount, our flesh will demand more. It is not inevitable. It is the fact of fallen flesh. And it is the purpose of learning Torah and Musar so that we can deal with and we have the guts to hold an accounting of ourselves against the Torah, not against someone else. No one else can be your surety on how you learn Torah or how you effectively serve Hashem. That is between you and Hashem. And Mishpachah, I please ask you with all my heart, please remember the importance of who we are in doing this. We are responsible for serving Hashem, not anyone else, okay? So remember that. Number 3, a person is already indebted to Hashem and is not capable of paying the debt. It would be shameful then to demand a security for more funds before engaging in his service. Number 4, soliciting a security is disgraceful because it indicates a concern that Hashem may not be able to provide when the need arises. That is total disgust. We call ourselves Jews, we call ourselves believers, and yet we have to have promises from God before we serve him. Wrong game, okay? So, heaven forbid the thought. 5, it is pointless to solicit a security of future funds, for the funds might not remain in one's possession. And even if they do remain with him, they may bring him more emotional stress than tranquility. Another thing about hoarding, many times, many times, that money, as it mentions in the previous chapters, we hoard and hoard and hoard only to provide for our enemies after our death. How miserable is that? So Mishpachah is always important. Stay focused on why we serve Hashem, because we serve Hashem and no other reason. Okay. Number 6. Number 6. Since Hashem is so generous that he showers us with kindness even before we earn any reward, and in the world to come, are the Olam Haba, he rewards us much more than we deserve. It is ridiculous. Hear me, ridiculous, asinine, pathetic, okay, to request our security from our God. Number 7, a security can be requested only by someone who has the ability to deliver the item that the security requests. Since a human is unable on his own to perform mitzvah, he has no right to solicit a security from HaShem. Mishpachah, these 7 in the summary are so key to what this book is about. We have the opportunity, again, I say this again and again and again. HaShem has placed points in the universe for us to stop at. They're moeds. We've just come through one. It was called Shavuot. When we're reading the Brit Hadashah, and I was just mentioning this to someone earlier this week. When we're reading the Brit Hadashah, search what moed or moedim was going on during that portion, and see how it affects us as Jews. Because as a Jew, appointed times are set by HaShem, not us. And so when you're reading the Brit Hadashah and what the world calls the New Testament, and I'm only pardon me, the Gospels rather, not the New Testament. No, wrong. The Gospels. Okay. When we're reading them, read them as a Jew from a Jewish standpoint. That way you'll understand when Pesach was being spoken of, when Hanukkah was being spoken of, when Shavuot, the giving of the Torah, was being spoken of, and so on for all of our festivals, including the High Holy Day. So please, Mishpachah, we are now at our last chapter. We'll finish that next week. And again, it is a pleasure and an honor to be reading this book with you. Please go back, read. Remember, we are not learning. We are doing scholarly aspects on this. We are scholars. We are taking efforts and mandating. Put a mandate on yourself. Place a mandate on yourself to elevate your Torah study. And don't let the HaSHAAR make the statement to you, well, what if you fail? Then you let the Tov tell the HaSHAAR he is going to fail, but the Tov will make sure that we get up. And the only way that can happen is through Musar. This is why we're studying Musar. This is why we will always study Musar. Our sages of blessed memory tell us, demand of us, that Musar should be studied every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. And we're guilty of not studying it. And we think we're doing well by studying it once a month or once a week. Musar is a daily study. It is a daily study. So please hold yourself accountable of just doing 5 minutes of Musar. Even if you've got to take your phone and do a snapshot of Musar out of this book, so that wherever you are, you can stop and just do a simple reading of Musar. So again, Mishpachah, Todah Rabbah for being with us this evening. I pray that this was helpful to you, because it's all about getting things done. It's all about, as a Jew, there is so much covenant provision that we have available to us. So those of you who are working on your getting your things in for what am I trying to say? Conversion. Please don't take conversion for granted. It is the opportunity to be part of the covenant of God. There's only one. Okay? There is no gate for the goyim. There are only 12 gates. Okay? So again, Todah Rabbah. Please like the video. Please share it. Please subscribe. Please help us. This is a digital world. So those things that are required to get us to different levels on the web, please provide that for us, okay? So again, Tada Rabah, and have a good evening. Shavua Tov.